think I'm gonna need a shoulder strap today. So I got this 246 GT Dino that a customer of mine and I bought this car a couple years ago. It's a super low mileage car. It's got 20,500 miles on the car. And I don't think this car has ever been apart. It's a pretty neat car. Interior is original, still has the original dash, the mouse fur, and it's just really kind of cool. But when we bought the car, we knew there was one issue with it, which was the paint. Someone, probably back in the 70s, had painted this car. There was a, I always tell people don't paint cars unless there's a problem. Like if you have shiny, good paint, there's no reason for someone to paint the car. And this car, it doesn't look like it was a major accident, but it looks like there was like probably a fender bender or a scrape or something alongside the right side of the car. And the person who owned it back then just sent it out and had it painted. Now, these cars were not super expensive back then, so people fix cars like regular cars. They took it to a local body shop and said, "Can you fix this?" When you look at a Dino, there is very little places that you can actually do a blend line. And a blend line means that you're looking for a space where you can stop a new paint on it and match it with the old paint, and your eye doesn't see it because there's a definitive line, like a door or a body line or something where you can like mask the paint and then not spray across that paint line. And what that does is it allows your eye not to notice slight variations of paint. Then the painter also has to pick paint that is like perfectly matched in color, so that way if there is variation, you don't even know, you notice even less. Paint match is very difficult. It's not perfect. You can get it very close. I've seen some guys who are very talented at painting and can get it super close where you can't even see it. And that's what they do spray outs for. They match them, they lay it next to it. But there's so many factors to paint. There's textures, there's metallics, there's all sorts of stuff that can change the way paint is sprayed. Not to mention also the fact that humidity and day and the heat and all that other stuff that you're painting that car that day can affect the way the paint lays down. So what happened is whoever painted this car, I mean, I hate to say it, did a horrible job. I mean, it doesn't even come close. When you look, and then the places that they picked the blend lines for were in the middle of the hood. I mean, the middle of the roof of the car. They picked the wrong areas. Now, I admit, a Dino, a lot of times when someone wants to paint a Dino, there's not many places that you can pick to blend it from. You can paint the fenders forward, you can maybe paint the fenders back, but there's really no easy place to blend on a car like this. So they were already fighting an issue with that. But now, with the paint not even matching, I mean, the fact that you can call it red, it's red, but it's not the same red. And the other thing is, as the paint has aged, it has gotten worse because the paint that they sprayed on it is getting old and textured compared to the original paint that's on the car, which is still smooth and glossy. So it was one of these things that the owner and I knew about it, and we were able to buy the car still and said, look, the rest of the car, I mean, you just don't have original cars that drive like this, that feel like this. So we said, you know what, it's worth buying this car the way that it is. But, I didn't want to, we were willing to deal with the paint the way it was, just simply because, look, the rest of the car is just fantastic. So after driving the car for a couple of years, the owners kind of like sat there and said, I really think that I want to get the car painted. And initially, when we first got the car, I said to him, you know what you should do? You should just wrap this car. I mean, we're not going to change the color of the car. If it really bothers you, you could just wrap it. And the reason why I suggest that is because the problem with cars is that when you paint it, it's never cheap. I mean, it is always expensive. I mean, you just painting a car, despite what people say on the internet, despite what you see on YouTube and all this other stuff, it is not cheap. What ends up happening is, if you paint a car cheaply, especially an expensive car like this, and you paint it with cheap paint, it may ruin the value of the car. I mean, because the next person that sees paint that looks that bad, they'll say, well, I'm not paying you extra because it looks good, because I know this paint is not good and I know that I'm going to end up repainting it. So they end up taking the value of the car out of it anyway. So I was like, if we do paint the car, we have to paint it with, paint it well. My analogy to that is, it's like owning $1 million house. If you own $1 million house, why would you get the cheapest, crappiest asphalt shingles to put them on the house? Like that's just, you're just making the $1 million house look cheap. I mean, $1 million houses use high cost materials, and if you use cheap materials, it doesn't work with there's a time and a place for cheap. And there's a time and a place where you have to use quality. And my advice is, like, if you're going to paint this car, especially to protect the value of the car, you have to either spend a lot of money or no money at all. And maybe that goes against the whole idea of a wrap, but a wrap is temporary. The paint underneath is ruined already. So if we put wrap on it, it's not going to change the value of the car. Yes, it's not cheap. I mean, I know there are people who say they could do wraps for $1,000 to $2,000. But the thing is, you'd have to pay up for someone to do a really good job. And if you even cheap out on wrap, it's going to look even worse. So, like, my feeling is, get a decent quality wrap job, and 95% of the world will not know the difference. And the 5% that will have to go in there and look at the corners and everything like that. You're not going to see that driving it down the road. So that was my first advice. And then, after thinking about it for the last couple years, he's really enjoyed the car. I mean, he's just, obviously, how can you not enjoy a Dino? It's a beautiful little car. This one drives wonderfully. So on this last round of stuff that needed to be fixed, he said, I really want you to go and look at how much it's going to cost to paint this car. And I'm also trying to find someone who can do a good job that knows Dinos. But I also believe in looking for people who are going to give us a lot of quality for our money. I mean, there are paint shops out there that look at other paint shops and say, oh, they're charging $30,000, I charge $30,000. They're charging $40,000, I charge $40,000. And the price just keeps going up. I mean, I've heard paint shops that people are charging $75,000. Now, I get it. There are some people who are branded and, this is a certain shop that paints this car. They do the best in the world, and I got mine done by there, and I'm willing to pay up for it. Okay, yeah, great. But I also believe there are people who put the hours in, who actually do a really good job, have pride in their work, and looks the same as something that's twice as much. But it's really about paying someone that's worth it and actually is going to put the time into it. And that's what I'm looking for. So I've been talking to a couple people about paint, and we're discussing it. It could be a good project. Could be a project that we could talk about. You could see the process, and that would help us all both. Just to show the process and then have an idea of what you're paying for. Look, I'm not going to stop people from spending money on expensive things, but I also want people to get quality for their money. It's kind of like this. If you want to buy an expensive, watch, and sometimes people are paying for expensive watches because of the brand, and some people are paying money for an expensive watch because it takes that many hours to build it. There's a little bit of balance of both, but just paying a lot of money for something that has the good brand on it, I'm not a big fan of that. So I want to do that a little bit and try to find someone who can paint this car, and then I'll put the number in front of my owner and then have him decide. If he says, you know what, that's way too much, because the other thing that we have the problem with is the paint that when I say this is how much it's going to cost to paint the car, that's just paint. Painting is about, taking the paint off to bare metal, getting all the door gaps right, getting everything to fit correctly, and then, painting it and getting it perfectly smooth. But if there's any bodywork in it, I don't think that this car is badly damaged, but we won't know until we take the paint off of it. And for all you know, there could be like an area where there's Bondo that needs to be fixed with metal. But we won't know until we take the paint off. And then that's extra. That's more hours. And, if I'm getting a guy who's going to pay him for the hours it takes to paint a car, well, then I have to pay him for the time it takes to do the bodywork. That can't be included in the cost of the paint job. And so when I give him that number, he'll make a decision on whether or not he thinks that he wants to pull the trigger. The other side that we have to talk about is the window has to come out, the rear window has to come out. We're going to have to put new rubber gaskets in. And then on top of that, with the new rubber gaskets, there's going to be some chrome on this car that's probably going to have to be redone. Definitely the window chrome, because that comes off. You don't want to take the windows off again. So when the windows are out, we're putting new gaskets in. I would probably I would definitely send the window chrome out. Does it need it? Right now it doesn't. But what happens is when you put fresh paint on a car and you don't do the window frames and you put them back in, they really do show up all the little micro scratches. And that's not what you want. You kind of have to have everything re-chromed. So after I give him the numbers, we'll take a look and he'll decide whether or not he's going to go ahead and pull the trigger and have it painted. There's going to be a little extra cost in there as far as doing the chrome on some of the pieces on the car, and then he'll decide whether or not it's within the budget. I don't really have an opinion, or I do have an opinion about where I'd go with it. I mean, if it were my car, I would just wrap it and drive it. If the paint has to come off and I spend $4,000, I've made the car last about 3 or 4 more years, maybe 5 years. And then in that time, who knows? Maybe I'll just sell it the way it is, or I'll get it painted. But that's the easiest way to do it without getting into all the other stuff like re-chroming and that just takes time. I mean, I have a car wrapped in like in like 2 weeks. And once that's done, then drive the car. If I send this car for paint, it's a year, easy a year. So that's what I would do. But I'd be curious to hear what you guys think, in the comments, what you would do. Now, some guys are different because, again, you have to put in perspective that this is a 6-figure car. We can talk about, if it were my car, I would do it. Well, it's not a Chevelle. I kind of like ratty old cars that you kind of go around. I have basically a Sunbeam Alpine with crappy original paint. I drive the wheels off of that thing. I take it in town. I park it. I don't care because it's a Sunbeam Alpine. It's not a Dino. So sometimes you show up to like an event where it's like, you having a Dino. I mean, there's some guys who can drive around in a 6-figure car and it looks like hell and just doesn't care. But sometimes it is a little embarrassing. So, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think, but Ultimately, it's a personal preference. No judgment on the owner on whether or not he would do this or not. I mean, like I said, it's like there is a thing about how other people see you. I guess maybe to me it's important, and then it's not that important. So it's always good to hear from you guys out there what you would do. But we're gonna take this car and get some numbers and see what the owner says as far as like what he's gonna eventually do. Well, the decision has been made. We're gonna paint the Dino. So I started to take all the bright work off, took the lights off, took the markers out, and windshield wiper arms and stuff, and tail lights. It's really kind of neat. This car is a pretty original car, so the weather stripping is in pretty good shape, and yet I can tell that it's never been off the car. So it was pretty easy on one side, but also interesting to see how the car was put together originally. I'm going to leave the windows in and allow the painter to do that, and you'll get to see a future video of us working on this car and getting it painted. This painter has done a couple Dinos before, so certainly familiar with doing it, but this is going to be the first car that we do together, so it'll be an interesting process. So look forward to future videos of this car getting painted, and thanks for watching.